the most mechanical player maybe of all time in pro play.
Definitely a very entertaining team. They look like they're playing a different game. They're just different.
Every single player on the roster, it was like they were their own superstar.
And then another nasty flick. What?
Top team in Europe is taking it to number 2 as Joyo.
He's got to be a little bit of space to work with here. Might go the whole way.
Your backs are against the wall if your team Falcons. Meanwhile, Moist Esports.
They're confident, but why wouldn't you be?
In the RLCS 2021 and 22 season, Rocket League fans bore witness to the most meteoric rise in the game's history. Never before had we seen such an unexpected climb to the top from a young group of players that were previously completely unheard of. But all within less than a year, the names Rise, Joyo, and Vatira went from 3 question marks to household names in the community. Today, I present to you not only a story of failure, triumph, and beautiful redemption, but also a story of family and a young player's dreams coming true right before our very eyes. Folks, after more than 2 years of putting together this documentary, I proudly present to you the biggest project I've ever worked on. This is the incredible story of Joyo and Moist Esports.
And Moist, all strong off the ensuing kickoff. Joyo!
There was a attempt for the 50. Here they come on. Joyo lost it. And the show. On a gorgeous team in the tournament. They are up again.
In 2017, Rocket League announced the location of the 5th RLCS World Championship, the biggest Rocket League event yet that would take place at the Copperbox Arena in London, England. Meanwhile, up north, a Rocket League fan named Joyo saw this as the perfect opportunity to attend one of these amazing events in person. Fortunately for Joyo, it wasn't too far from home. So at the age of just 12 years old, he and his mom went to go see their first Rocket League World Championship in person. Little did they know, this very event would be so special that it would go down as one of the greatest in Rocket League history even to this day.
They have to keep this one alive. A lot's going to keep following. That's going to turn a lot. But only for a brief second, because Justin is going to win it for energy. Hey, Devo up high. That is going to drop down 5, but it will not be there. Are you kidding me, Devo? Still 0 goes. Oh, my goodness. He does the dealing. He's got the flip. And he gets it. What a panda. Wasn't there. Bounces into the corner. Energy still around. Justin is there for the shot.
The Justin goal is probably the most fabled moment of that LAN. I remember I watched it. Pretty insane. I mean, something that'll never happen again, probably.
Although he didn't have any plans for his own future with Rocket League at this point, you can imagine how special it must have been to attend potentially the greatest event that this game will ever see.
I remember my mum told me, she was like, you know what, I understand the game now. Like, she didn't understand it before. And then when she went there and like saw it as this big event and like people came all over the world to watch it and there's money involved, you know, she supported me.
But as I said, at this point, Joyo wasn't really sure where he'd go with this game yet. In the meantime, he eventually found himself on the other side of the community, on a freestyling team known as Pulse Clan.
Pulse or Pulse Clan, the way I'd compare it to anything is it's like COD trick shotting.
No way! No way!
It's like FaZe. It's like the FaZe trick shotting of Rocket League.
Anyone who knows about the freestyling community in Rocket League knows that these guys are some of the most mechanically impressive players in the world. Joyo happened to join the clan as a comp clip hitter, which basically meant he was someone that would play competitive matches in high-level ranked, for example, but still go for insanely impressive shots against those high-tier defenders. At just 13 years old now, his skill set was growing fast, and as you can imagine, it formed his playstyle in a very unique way. But at the same time, Joyo wasn't completely committed to freestyling either. During all this, he was also grinding a different competitive ranked system, known as Six-Mans. Six-Mans, on the other hand, is pretty much the exact opposite of freestyling. To casual players, they don't really care about it, but to competitive players, it's a crucial step to take in order to eventually reach the pro scene. In short, Six-Mans is a Discord community with its own ranked system, where players can queue matches all the same, but it's much more competitive than the system built into Rocket League. Instead of the ranks just stopping, with Supersonic Legend being the highest achievement, in Six-Mans, they actually keep going beyond SSL, with ranks such as B, B+, A, X, and eventually Pro. By the time he was 14 years old, Joyo was still making progress and all the way up at rank A, which is pretty respectable, especially considering he still wasn't fully committed to either side of the community yet, until something devastating happened. So you mentioned earlier how there was a point where you almost stopped playing entirely. Can you tell me about that?
So, when I was 14, I nearly quit the game.
What happened?
I demoted from rank A. You know, when a young player demotes from a Six-Man's rank, it's like the worst thing that could ever happen to them.
Yeah.
So I got in that like emo phase, you know, black profile picture, just like completely was not ready to grind back up. And I just stopped playing comp completely. I played casual and I was like, well, I mean, I'm freestyling and I'm impulse and everything. I might as well just do that instead of comp.
While at the time this was a pretty dark era for Joyo, it's also where he really began to make a name for himself. Pulse Clan is Rocket League's most popular freestyling team, with huge creators in the community. So when his focus shifted toward that, he started popping up in various YouTube videos. Not only did this get his name out there, but this era of being on the edge of nearly quitting the game also further developed his unique skill set of creative mechanics, which came in very handy when he had a sudden realization as he was getting closer and closer to turning 15.
For RLCS, you have to be 15 to compete. I didn't even think that the game would still have like a big fan base. I thought it could have died before I turned 15, but lo and behold, I was about to turn 15 and the game was at its peak. I had this sort of moment of realization, like, I might as well try. I took that 6 months to, you know, get back into Six-Mans and I started grinding again, you know. Fully focused, more motivated than like even before. It was like a new level of motivation, like a surge of it.
Now that Joyo was 15 years old, he was eligible to compete in Rocket League's official competitive league, the RLCS. So when the previous season was ending and the off-season began, that's when Joyo had the perfect window to find himself a team. They call it Roster Mania. This is the time where anything goes. Players are running around with tryouts and discussions to find the perfect team as soon as possible to join for next season.
Everyone, they're looking for new teams. They're scrambling to get a team sorted, to stick, to start practicing as fast as possible.
And for Joyo, his situation seemed to align perfectly with a longtime friend named Rise.
Me and Rise, we were in like nearly identical positions. We just sort of like gradually came to the idea together. Why don't we try out? Why don't we see what we can do? You know, we've known each other for ages. If it works, it's perfect.
So with that in mind, still not fully committing to anything, they looked around for a few different players to try out with them. One guy in particular was a French up-and-comer named Vatira, who was also just now becoming eligible.
We did a scrim with Vatira, and I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It just like instantly clicked. Something I'd never felt before. I don't know, it was perfect. We all knew what we were doing. We didn't need coaching or anything. We didn't need to like learn how to play with each other. It instantly was just perfect. Me, Raz, and Vatira, we signed up for this tournament. It was called Mediterranean Esports. There was a few pro teams in it as well near the end. We signed up, we didn't really think anything of it, and we got quite far into it, but at the same time, I had a scrim with Endpoint. Endpoint was the first pro team I ever got asked to scrim with, and we get this time for this tournament. The tournament match is meant to be played, it was an hour or two after the scrim. So I get into the scrim with Endpoint the day later, thinking nothing of it. I play a game or two, and then I'm getting spammed by Rise. The guy got the times wrong. He told us the wrong time. We need to play now. And I'm like, well, I'm in a scrim. It wasn't an argument. We were like discussing it. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to do this scrim. And he's like, you can scrim with them whenever, but like, you only have this tournament now. It was my first pro tryout, and you know, it was really exciting. Something like I finally get to prove myself. So he convinced me. I leave the endpoint scrim early, not knowing that that'll be my last scrim with them because I left. But yeah, I leave the scrim and I play with them, and I mean, it went pretty well, to be honest. Luckily for us, we won the entire tournament through the upper bracket. We peaked. I don't know, we were playing really good against everyone, and it was very lucky. I mean, that admin who got the times wrong accidentally made this.
Following that tournament, the esports organization Team Queso contacted the three of them. It seems that after beating their original team in the upper finals, Rise, Joyo, and Vatira were immediately on their radar. Some conversations later, and it was settled. The three of them were committed to playing under the organization Team Queso, heading into their first full RLCS season. So, what happens now? Well, firstly, to reach their goal of eventually competing on the big stage in front of a crowd, they would first need to prove that they can qualify for the first event of the season. To do that, they'd need to compete for one of only 16 spots in the first European regional, which is by no means an easy task, especially considering there's hundreds of other European teams trying to do the exact same thing. Fortunately though, Team Queso managed to breeze by this stage pretty comfortably, and we're officially an RLCS team.
Of course, taking an early lead versus Team Queso.
And they've now got Joyo, Vatira, and Rise. There are essentially 3 question marks, but Queso...
Since this first event of the season was just a regional tournament, it meant 2 things. First, all the players are playing remotely from their homes, and second, they were only competing against other European teams. However, what makes these events so important is that performing well in them is what qualifies you for the major event later on, where you compete against the best teams from around the world at one location in person. That is the true goal, but you can only qualify for that by first proving you're one of the best teams in your region.
But Team Queso, they're beating teams all over the place right now, so who knows?
Team Queso versus Dignitas in round 5 of the Swiss, going for top 8.
Like, it does look like Dig just outclasses Team Queso, but I would have said that about a lot of the teams. Team Queso's been playing apparently Jack. We're going to see something, I think, in this game, and maybe we can just close it out and stop.
Oh my God, was that triple tap?
Scrub trying to make it offer, completely misses again.
Oh, the flick.
Beats apparently Jack in the air, and Scrub's got to get a piece of this.
There we go, Jack. Off the backboard, double tap. Put that one in. Put it in. Oh! No follow-up either. Rise. Look at the save.
Oh, there it is. Glorious, baby.
We lost a game 5 to Dig. I think we lost a game 5 to BDS and stuff, and we knew we could win them series, but like it was annoying that we weren't there yet because we knew we could be.
Unfortunately, for their first RLCS showing, this pattern continued. 2 weeks later, in the second regional, was an even worse performance. After that, in the third, they managed to sneak in the top 8, but were eliminated by a Game 7 loss. This put their finish for the first split at joint 9th in Europe, which unfortunately meant they'd miss out on the first major of the season. But on the bright side, there was still plenty of the season left. In fact, that was only the first of 3 total splits. In the next one, all the points would reset and they'd have another shot at qualifying for the major.
Hi, my name is Jack Collier, or better known as Corelli in the RLCS. The Queso story is not only an interesting story to me, but also, I think, an important story to the greater context of the esport of Rocket League. In the first regional, Queso came out swinging pretty heavy in Group B. They finished the top of their group, but I think the big turning point that I think turned a lot of heads towards Queso was the upper bracket final against BDS.
BDS are just one of the best teams of all time in Rocket League. They are passionate after the full major, and they're going to take it the whole way through this event, starting with Queso today.
Get a little bit of breathing room. Vatira used all his moves to make that challenge happen. Now another response for Joyo, and he's missed it. Extra will punch it in. BDS punished late.
I think all of us on our team have this idea that you play the best when you have nothing to think about, and the game's like purely instinctual.
Oh, it bounced out to Vatira! Goal! Queso, with 4 seconds remaining, have responded with a tying goal.
We sort of spoke about how we wanted to play our game, and we had this like new way of playing, just like purely naturally, because we knew we worked together, and it was way less stressful, I'd say. Like, it felt natural, and I mean, the rest is history.
And I feel like regardless of whether or not you're a fan of Team Queso, you're happy to see them finally get a goal because they worked for it. Joyo! The blue series off the stealing. 50-50 does go his way. Got Vatira to follow it up. And like you said, Jorby, you really cannot count out BDS quite yet. Unless you've got Vatira on the other side.
I certainly didn't expect Queso to be up 3-0 by the time here. BDS have not had the fortune of getting those passes, and Queso are on a demolition derby towards a victory.
Queso went on to beat Dignitas in the grand final in commanding fashion again, and I think at that point, everyone knew this split was going to be different than previous.
The shocking result of the first regional of this split turned out to be in no way a fluke. After taking first place in it against all odds, Queso carried that momentum straight into the second regional 2 weeks later.
That is complicated. That complicated sequence like you did? Probably not, but that's what we love about Queso, as Joyo now going all the way, is that triple?
A second place finish, only losing to the previous major champions, meant that Team Queso had now clinched their spot for the major before the third regional had even begun.
So at this point, Queso had done something that so few teams had done in the past. They went from a relatively unknown group of players struggling to make main events to top dogs in their region while keeping the same roster. You had 4 wins over Dignitas, you had a dominant win over BDS, you had 2 wins over the domestic Titan in Endpoint in a grand final in Regional 3.
Skyrocketing to the #1 seed in Europe was already an unbelievable accomplishment, but the job was still far from done. At the Winter Major in Los Angeles, California, Queso would finally have their chance to show the entire world just how special they are.
How are you today?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
When you're playing Rocket League Esports and you're a pro, the #1 goal, play in front of a crowd.
You look at Team Queso as one of the best teams in Europe right now. I mean, they were just winning regionals and taking down teams like BDS, who had just won the fall major. And then, so now we see them in a completely different environment because you're not in the comfort of your living room anymore, or your bedroom, or wherever you're playing at. You are here in this building, and then you're going to be there in front of that crowd, and we got to see how it affects everybody.
When Queso entered the group stage, they were placed with APAC's 1 seed Detonator and NA's 3 and 4 seed FaZe in version 1. Queso up against Detonator, to put things lightly, they crushed them. For all intents and purposes, this was basically a warm-up series for Queso. It was an expected win, and they dominated throughout.
The 5th for Team Queso.
When Queso met FaZe in the group stage, I was a little worried for him. I remember casting the series with James, and a big talking point was how FaZe had been pretty consistent against EU teams on land.
The Winter Major, you haven't seen it. Here's the pass across, and there it comes for FaZe, 2 up.
So FaZe felt like they were going to be a pretty big test for Queso.
Oh my, big double! Oh, he got it! Here they come again. Joyo's going to beat the last man in AJ. Second touch for Joyo, looming! Top shelf for Joyo!
After dropping 2 games in the best of 5, Queso did well to battle back, and they were able to win 2 straight to clinch that series. I also casted the Queso version 1 series, and I was pretty confident that Queso was going to win. I think players and community started to take notice of version 1, particularly about how Calm was acting during the Winter Major. His playstyle was very demo heavy. He was a nuisance. He was annoying. But really, I think it was the off-the-field behavior that caught everyone's attention. Teams were sat facing across from each other, which means even with headphones, players were still at earshot of each other if you screamed loud enough. It turns out, Calm knew this, and he started laying into players.
And then a fake from Joyo on his own teammates. What's going on?
He's laughing at him!
Calm is a menace.
He's in their head.
I can't say it for every other player, but Calm, like, it doesn't, like, get to you personally. You don't feel bad about what he says, but you want to say it back. They try and make you as panicky and rushed as possible.
From version 1, they're screaming on the other side of the venue, we can still hear it.
His trash talk was something even me as a caster in the other room could hear through my own headset.
Here comes Torment. Beast Mode's gonna take it away. Down into the net.
10 so far. Some big upsets here. Version 1, guys, getting the win on Queso on the B stream. Rolled as none of us saw this coming.
Team Queso's unexpected loss to version 1 put them at a severe disadvantage for the rest of the tournament. Finishing second in their group meant they would automatically be placed in the lower bracket for playoffs. A daunting 7 series away from a championship title, where one single loss would immediately send you home.
It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. This was one of the grand finals that I thought was most likely.
It's fair to say most teams in this spot in the bracket would lower their expectations at this point. It's hard not to prepare yourself for the worst when you're constantly on the edge of elimination and so far away from success. But for some reason, even as rookies, this pressure didn't apply to Queso. Having their backs against the wall turned out to be exactly what makes them so special. And the entire scene was just about to realize that. Starting with North America's best, NRG.
Queso set NRG on an early flight. It's going to be up to Team Queso to shut the deal down. It's making a lot of these 50s favor Team Queso. A bullet through the corner, a pass through the corner, stop through the corner! Rise to the occasion, young one!
Challenge, come off the ceiling, put a little force behind it, that's a big demo, and a quick follow-up. Oh my gosh, Rise. What does it mean to you to just have all these people coming out for the love of Rocket League? Through it's Joyo who comes down with it, flip reset, that's perfectly executed.
It's surreal, to be honest. I've never expected to do this in my career, and I love all the fans. Thank you very much for supporting me.
Opportunity for the flip reset from 1 to 2 to 3. Anything deadly. Absolute anticipation of everyone in the crowd leaves Rise to double. All 3 are up now for FaZe. They know the moment, but they get picked off. And Team Queso take advantage of the mistake.
At this point in the tournament, I think everyone felt like something special was happening with Queso.
The time has come. Game number 1 to start things off.
Entering the Space Station series, Queso pretty much embarrassed them in Game 1.
Coming out and putting on display. Here's the 3rd one for Vatira.
But Queso still on a roll as they take Game 1.
Yeah.
But as the series went on, it seemed like Space Station was settling in.
But now Reynolds off the ceiling, has the flick, there's the bump! Reynolds scores! Space Station in the lead!
And the series kind of progressed exactly like that. Highly mechanical shots with both teams going blow for blow.
Tied up, and we'll see. Get the ball away! Arsenal follows his first another plan. Rise again! More pressure. Akimbo comes out of Joyo, and the ball goes in! Reynolds finishes. Look at that Space Station team come alive!
It was no back pressure. And speaking of pressure, yet another demo play.
Under immense pressure again, but Joyo got through. Oh!
Wrong. As fake all around the pitch working out in favor of Team Queso, and a double tap, adding insult to injury. Queso up by 3.
So Game 7 started with maybe the most amount of tension you could have in a Rocket League series that isn't a final. About a minute in, Queso was leading by a goal, and they were able to put away their second.
Vatira, one more touch needed, got it down in front. Rise will do it again. Queso coming along.
Usually in these moments, you kind of feel like the series is over. It was going to take somewhat of a miracle for Space Station to make a comeback.
Queso's put up a wall on their goal line.
With less than a minute to go, Space Station did finally score their first goal, and you could feel the sigh of relief, I think, for Space Station fans and, of course, the players.
This is it.
SSG needs this drive.
It's all on the line.
Is it going to win? It is! Daniel scores! SSG are within 1!
It meant that it was possible for them to get back into this game.
The ice on the stage is unbelievable, and now Daniel wants more.
They're not stopping.
And Vatira read the play. Arsenal couldn't get the second touch, and that's dished behind Reynolds. Now Joyo with 30 to go, trying to add one more. Rise demolished.
So there are a few plays that really come to mind as one of the all-time greats in Rocket League. But here in Game 7, with 30 seconds left, Rise definitely gave us one of them. In a 2v1 situation against arguably the top 2 physical players in the league, Vatira was left alone in a lose-lose scenario. He either had to go for the ball and get demoed, or dodge the demo and give up his position to defend. In this case, Vatira somehow managed to do both. He dodged the demo and at least delayed the presumed goal, but with the ball still trickling towards the net, the inevitable seemed certain. Until Rise suddenly appeared to help out. You see, at the beginning of the play, Rise was demoed. And when you get demoed in Rocket League, you spawn on one of your defensive corners after a few seconds. So on the respawn, Rise had to do some inhuman calculations. First, identify which side of the field he spawned on. Second, adjust his car accordingly. And third, make the save all within a couple seconds. After respawning, you can see that Rise was actually guessing which side he was going to spawn on, turning his wheels immediately to the left. However, Rise spawned on the left side, initially veering in the wrong direction. But in a fraction of a second, Rise readjusts, correcting his direction towards the play and coming off screen to make what is the most legendary save that Rocket League Esports has ever seen.
He's going up field. He's hunting. He's hunting. He got it. Incredible. It's not in. And now it goes the other way. Final 15 seconds. Queso trying to transition, but here's Space Station on the ball. Daniel now into the corner. Can they make something happen? Reynolds takes down Joyo. Ball going into the midfield. Where's anybody? Reynolds all the way. Is this going to go up? Fall down. It will. It will. Team Queso to the grand finals. Queso avanza en la grand finale. Team Queso gets a date with G2.
Joyo, what a series against Space Station Gaming. The crowd going absolutely crazy for you guys. Any other shout outs that you have going into this grand final?
Shout out my parents. They're supporting me at home, and I mean, they've helped me so much in my journey.
It is time to show the world we are ready for the grand finals. Queso have won the North American Gauntlet, and they've ended at their final station. One last bastion.
G2 have to look for those counter-attacking chances. They have to look for the bumps, and they got to get someone in net because Queso have just opened the scoring.
Because we're now in the grand finals and Queso is coming from the lower brackets, they once again are forced to fight from behind. In order to take the championship, they'd have to beat G2 in 2 best-of-7s in a row. A tall order once again, but considering what Queso had accomplished already, anything was truly possible.
That one off the bar. Oh God! It's open! Goal! Queso win! 46 in the tank. Flip reset to keep going. Oh, Joyo squeezes it in and it's saved! Rebound's coming though in Vatira.
What did we just witness?
Pops up again. It's Rise running another 50. It's Joyo keeping it going. It's Joyo destroying G2's defense. Queso up by 2. Taken away by Rise. Has Frozen on the backboard. Here they come. G2 looking for the shot. Oh, it's goal! Joyo scores! G2 again. Chicago downfield. Just on target. Chicago! Another goal for G2.
G2 aren't able to capitalize. Now there might be a bump after Vatira. There it is. Rise. Long shot goes in.
Look at the ball, and even on low boost, they somehow are able to export out those mechanics. But G2 and they fall the game. The next step delivers. Kicked out of the way. Vatira drops it down. Here comes Chicago. Stay on the bar. Here they come again. Atomic. Goal! We're going to Champions Field.
When a grand finals reaches Game 7, it really is the perfect setup for something amazing to happen.
G2, 1 game away from winning the major for themselves and for North America.
Some of Rocket League's most iconic moments in history have occurred in situations just like these. And for the first 4 minutes of this game, it was looking like we were about to witness another one.
The shot quality from Team Queso is just not there. Look at the clock. G2 have wasted so much time here. They've been defending, but they've defended well enough.
Rise, pops the ball hard, leads to a save for Chicago, but coming back, return fire! Joyo ties the game!
But they managed to get those clears, but eventually Team Queso was able to find that opening, and now they see another, but a goal line save from Atomic keeps it tied.
G2 have to step it up at this moment. Look at the boost. Team Queso are really struggling here, but a backcourt response for Joyo.
Atomic, does he have the next touch? He missed it, but everyone's offering on Queso. Rebound comes in, one touch from Joyo. It's a race now, running this rise, and it's going to be G2 getting back.
Critical recovery from G2. A goal now would be it. Surely Rise actually sends it wide.
Unexpectedly though, what happened this time around as the clock counted down can only really be described as embarrassing.
Again, trying to find the touch, pass out to Rise, downfield, Vatira taken away. Pass cut off by G2, time running out. Here they come, Atomic, actually back to... Robbery!
Oh my goodness!
I've casted Rocket League for almost 8 years, and I have never seen something like this.
A complete choke from G2. Atomic and Chicago both leave the ball at the worst moment.
You could really see the pain on Chicago's face more than anything. Clearly, there was a miscommunication between him and Atomic, and Vatira just smacked it into the net with no one from G2 getting a touch on the ball.
Vatira puts the ball onto the ground, and here we go! A bracket reset!
Although the bizarre ending to the series played out to Queso's benefit, they unfortunately couldn't keep the same performance throughout the second series.
So Team Queso, they're fighting from behind, and another goal being dropped in.
You could call it fatigue, you could call it inexperience, or simply being flustered by the previous series. Either way, something wasn't right.
Here, the it's open! The goal! Atomic again!
All the work, the countless amount of clutch moments that got them there, it all came crumbling down at the time where they needed it most. The time where they were only one series away from becoming RLCS major champions.
After the G2 series, and after we lost, I remember we went back to our practice room, and I just started crying.
And where was the challenge? I thought Joyo was on the back.
I couldn't believe it because I knew we could have won, and we had the momentum until game 3 of the second series.
He forced the own goal. G2 has the lead.
It's just like dread because of how close we could have, well, how close we were to winning.
Following the unfortunate but still impressive second place finish at the Winter Major, an unexpected statement was released from the Team Queso Twitter account. It was announced that they were releasing their Rocket League team of Rise, Joyo, and Vatira ahead of the spring split. The season still had an entire split left before it was over, so this announcement initially left RLCS fans only with confusion. However, it wouldn't be long before the truth would come out, as just about a week later, their new home was officially revealed.
But Moist are going to be kicking things off.
The one and only Moist Esports.
The level of Moist Esports to join Rocket League.
Moist Esports actually did acquire the Queso roster.
A happy and moist RLCS day one.
Moist picked up Team Queso, which is pretty insane.
And it's as a lot of you expected, Moist Esports.
Rise, Joyo, and Vatira being signed by Moist Esports was some of the biggest news the community has had in a while, largely because of what it meant for the scene overall.
In the air now, Joyo. Flip reset immediately back onto the ball. Oh, and he puts it through the defense.
For those that don't know, Moist is an esports organization run by YouTuber and streamer Moist Cr1tikal, aka Charlie.
Yeah, baby! I just post it on the internet. Some people watch it, and that's really about it.
As a longtime, highly respected, and tremendously popular content creator, Charlie immediately brought millions of new eyes onto the Rocket League pro scene.
I mean, the Moist pickup, it's something I never thought would happen ever. I've been watching Charlie way before Moist Esports was even a thing.
It was to do with Flow. My, what on earth?
Level 2, then this try goes to the sky. He can get a flip reset here, and he can take it as well. Ceiling.
No, okay, good. We like that.
Each time Moist would compete throughout the spring split, Charlie would watch party their games with his huge audience, which quickly made Moist one of the biggest fan bases in professional Rocket League.
They're doing their watch party and they're all sitting there like screaming. Someone like that involved in the scene is like nothing but positive things can come from that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh my god, read him a bedtime story. Oh, the rule one.
I'm leading his team.
They truly brought a huge new audience to the RLCS, not only through making the games more lighthearted and fun for everyone, but simultaneously delivering some of the most hype reactions the community has ever seen.
Come on, Rise! Come on, Rise! Yeah!
Through the final split of the season, Moist unfortunately had a little bit of a slower start in the first two regionals with still decent placement, but they pulled it together for the last one to take home regional number 3. This totaled them up to easily qualify for the spring major, this time coming into it as the second seed from Europe. So once again, the boys packed their bags, hit the road, this time headed straight for London. London. Why is that so familiar?
The Copper Box. Welcome to the London Major.
4 years ago, we witnessed
This is Rocket League!
in this very arena.
I watched season 5 and it was a great event.
We're back for London 2.0, and we gotta kick it off the right way.
The Spring Major was Moist Esports' true shot at redemption. This time, the format was simplified to just one double elimination bracket. Lose once, and you're sent to lowers. Lose again, and you're officially eliminated. For the sake of efficiency, the first 2 rounds of the bracket would be played in studio, with no live crowd present.
And so can he capture that magic again against Moist? It's gonna be tough with Vatira's flip resets coming from the ceiling.
But from round 3 and on, the doors would be opened to showcase every match in front of the entire London crowd. Reaching that stage was Moist's first step in this long journey toward redemption.
Perfectly positioned, a nice pass coming through.
Oh,
Rise! And taking the lead. The pop up over Illusion. Vatira getting the bump, and now Rise!
Tangled up our optic, still threatening here from Moist. Another shot from Joyo. That one plays perfectly. 2-1 Moist.
As expected, Moist's first series in the tournament here was quite the breeze. But as soon as only round 2, they would already see their first real hurdle.
This one is so hard to call for me. It happened in the group stage, I think, in LA as well, and it was a 3-1 win for version 1.
Game 1, version 1 Moist Esports. Kicking off both teams. Mechanical monsters. First one's gonna be Torment with a flip reset.
I mean, version 1 was really good. Calm was a menace, both on ball, off ball, and even out the server. You have to imagine dealing with somebody where someone is so physical.
To have the most success, but this could work here. Beast mode.
It's tough for Moist to kind of, or any team, to be able to deal with a lot of that happening at once. You're trying to get adjustments, you're trying to get your head on straight, because the match is going to continue whether you're ready or not.
Trying to tie up the series with this narrow 1-goal advantage.
Oh no! Despite the high hopes and expectations beyond just the second round, Moist found themselves losing their flow early on.
Oh, the demo! It's brutal! The net, it's open! Torment is gonna parry it in!
So version 1 was giving Moist a reminder of what had happened in the winter.
Back here to the defensive end, a demo again! Con with the shot!
It just feels like they're struggling even just to get the possession and no one there. Beast mode.
You think about it too much to the point where it just happens, and all I could think about was throwing again. So I threw again.
Usually, after taking an early loss like this, it would mean that your next few matches would at least be a little easier. But to make matters worse, Moist weren't the only top contender with this same fate.
America, it's the Winter Major champions who have been knocked down.
Pioneers 3-0'd Team BDS. Look at that lower bracket. The number 1 seed is a curse.
So now you have G2 and Moist in the lower bracket, and FaZe Clan and Team Liquid all in the lower bracket. I think everyone was stunned to a point where we really didn't know what was going on.
The crazy amount of high-power teams in the lower bracket, specifically in the way of Moist, meant that every round from here on out would be against a genuine threat of a team that could very well end their tournament lives right then and there. Somehow, the road ahead of them was now even more daunting than what they had faced at the Winter Major, which is exactly what makes these next few days of Rocket League history so special.
The lower bracket spark is still alive. Moist doing it in the Winter Major.
With such an unpredictable lower bracket, it seemed like everyone had their own take on how they expected it to unfold. There were so many completely different possibilities that all had reasonable chances of actually happening.
I gotta say, FaZe, they're gonna make that lower bracket run.
For Moist though, whatever they did to get themselves back on track had clearly worked, as they took down the Pioneers in a comfortable sweep.
Heading into the final weekend.
Their next series took place the following day against Team Liquid. Already, this was one of those matches where you could predict either of these teams making that full lower bracket run.
Moist versus Liquid was close. Desk was split.
People some respect. Liquid versus Moist. It's a close battle. We got a very split desk. But my oh my, Cole, this has potential to be an offensive shootout.
You're not going to want a slow start versus Moist. They've managed to just about tear it back from G2. There was a lot of viewing parties happening. No renewal was going to happen. And neither did the Liquid defense.
Give them faith. One on the goal line. He can't quite catch up.
But when the next set of RLCS begins, they're capable of taking it to anyone.
So it is starting to look like much more of a battle. Liquid have kind of settled in their opening nerves.
Looking to bear down and finds the far post in. Team Liquid tie the series up.
Crowd will serenade us potentially.
There it is.
He's flag behind him, representing his nation. Guys just going on for a tie. Team Liquid, they cannot be beaten in game 3. They've turned it completely on its head.
So now Team Liquid have put the series on match point off of that. Again, Moist was in the lead until 0. Liquid score and then immediately win the overtime off the kickoff. That's got to be demoralizing.
It's moments like these where you could easily imagine a young team like this losing their spark and accepting defeat.
Liquid want to shut it out now and drop one of the greatest teams in Europe right back home.
But Joyo, nice follow-up to keep this ball alive, and just like that, Rise scores off the rip.
However, rather than giving up, Moist would pivot from here to pull something off in this tournament that would ultimately define their legacy.
Vatira predictably in the way.
The attack continues over Izoski's from the infield pass. Vatira again.
And after some incredible defense in Game 4, they kept Liquid scoreless to even out the series.
Game 5.
In Game 5, Liquid would bounce right back with some relentless offense to take the early lead.
It's not answered very well at all. Adzo puts it afar, and Ronic sinks it home.
But it wouldn't go unanswered, as Moist strike back less than a minute later.
There it is. It's there by Adzo. It falls to Rise.
And Moist, at this point, they score anything and they light up. They are taking all the energy from the crowd and just channeling it.
We have under a minute. We have a drawn game.
Only a few seconds left. Team Liquid need to get this ball. They're not going to be able to. Moist Esports on the cusp. First they were cheesy, now they're Moist.
For the first time of what would be many, Moist had just barely escaped elimination and were now moving forward to the lower quarterfinals.
You can hear from the roar of the crowd that you are the crowd favorite. How does that make you feel?
I mean, just thank you to everyone here. We love you all. We're gonna win it.
With the ending of that match, every series from here on out in the tournament would be a best of 7. But to see who Moist would play next, the 2 upper semifinal matches had to be played first. In the first one, Version 1 took down another European favorite team, therefore earning their reputation in front of the crowd as the villains of the tournament.
Boy, has he turned into a villain here at the Copper Box.
This team attracted so many haters, you'd be troubled to find a single goal where the crowd actually cheered them on. But still, they performed incredibly well and were moving forward in the upper bracket. Meanwhile, in the other match, whoever would lose this one would be Moist Esports' next opponent in the lower bracket. This one ended up being a total nail-biter of a series. But in the end, the Falcons would continue their run, which therefore meant that Moist Esports' next opponent would be none other than SSG.
Saturday has been nothing short of ridiculous. Space Station coming fresh off a thrilling 7-game series, now in the lower bracket here against Moist.
Given the context of what happened last time these two teams played, literally just a couple months ago at the Winter Major, the hype was certainly real, and as the series played out, it was shaping up to be another banger for all Rocket League fans alike.
Out of the net, Moist still in control of this, right off the kickoff. Oh! Sees it, and Rise delivers!
Something about these clashing playstyles and personalities makes the perfect recipe for great Rocket League and unbelievably clutch situations.
It's going to lead to a goal, and yes, it has.
It's hard not to watch a series like this and be completely captivated despite it only taking place in the lower quarterfinals. The series continued to progress and become more and more intense with each passing moment. There were plenty of reasons to back either of these teams making the full run to the grand finals, but only one of them could extend their tournament lives from here.
In the back line, trying to keep Arsenal honest. Reynolds got the clear. Oh!
And what better way to decide it than another Game 7?
Boys, can they clutch it up like they've done so many times?
It's perfect for a Game 7 like this because you're going to frustrate your opponents by getting these bumps and demos. It can be so horrible to play against, but so good Vatira.
Space Station want a quick response. Trying to bump them out of the way, trying to force them out of the rotation. Arsenal in the air. Meltzer! Oh, what a save from Rise!
Rise again, staying grounded, staying cool.
Oh, it's off the post!
Shooting wide, Arsenal isn't able to clutch it out.
Yeah, great blocking though there from Arsenal. Had to stay strong against two Moist players.
Oh,
it's getting so close. There is the pass, huge from Daniel. Arsenal clears it. Chances at both ends.
Not giving them too much space. Rise doesn't have the boost. Space Station win another touch.
Space Station are 2-7 in Game 7 this season! But none of that matters now with the late equalizer.
It has been a true battle in this best of 7. Here they come underneath. Shot on target denied again. Space Station hanging on to that ball. Vatira avoiding the bump. Space Station again getting that clear, just getting it away from Royce.
That's a huge miss there.
He's got it! He's got it!
Yes, he can! Arsenal put Space Station Gaming on the cusp of the top 4!
So, what happened from your perspective on that play with 9 seconds left?
The only reason they scored is because I missed an aerial that no one else was up for. I literally just said, my fault, and I just went like silent after.
Rettles becoming animated, returning to where he began.
Both Rise and Vatira, like they both just started talking. They were like, it literally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We aren't out.
We're chilling. They don't deserve that. We got time. Come on, diss them. Come on. Let's go. You're gonna peek. Yeah.
And we got ready for the kickoff.
And on this big stage, they are sitting 9 seconds.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a blessing from like a higher power. I did a perfect kickoff and they messed it up. Vatira followed perfectly and we just scored instantly.
Oh no! A complete gap on the kickoff, and Moist have tied it up!
Oh my goodness, drama up until the very end.
It was like, no way they did it again. Like, really? This really?
Such limited boost, and yet Space Station managed to hold on tight.
Controlling the midfield, he's got enough boost. What's he got? Reset, went too far forward for a pass. All Daniel did was just sit there. He knew that there was a penalty for the 50. Here they come on the Joyo busting! And the show! Boys are the coldest team in the tournament! They ice up again!
It had to be Rise! It's always Rise! How does he do this time and time again?
He's absolute zero cold!
Oh my goodness! Moist Esports! 9 seconds, it's deja vu and London!
There's no way!
And Moist Hold strong off the ensuing kickoff.
Joyo again! Oh, the time's in trouble. Rise with the demo. It's there!
Everyone at home, you know I love you. I love everyone here in the crowd and Charlie.
For cake form. This one tied up now. Astro's got to shake.
We're thankful for this opportunity. We love you so much. Let's get wet.
Let's get wet.
With the crowd now almost unanimously backing Moist in these matchups, it's no wonder why they looked untouchable here in the top 4, even against what used to be their one true weakness in version 1.
Maybe he finds it, pot shot turned away.
Couple of nice passes from both these teams. Vatira now.
They just do so much that we've never seen before every single time they play. If you want to watch good Rocket League, watch Moist.
Version 1 are concentrating though more than they ever have before to keep up their defensive domination. But you can rotate all you like until Joyo comes along.
Enough to do it. Wants the bump. Does he get it? Oh! Off the mark! Version 1 eliminated from contention.
A tsunami of support surges through the copper box.
After a total beatdown and a beautiful display of redemption, the last thing Moist had to do was finish what they started in the grand finals.
Grand finals, Falcons coming through the upper bracket.
2 lives for the Falcons. Moist, they not only have to win 1 best of 7, they got to win 2 at this point.
Going into this series, not even going into the tournament, Falcons was high on the radar.
I think it's the destiny of Falcons to win this major.
They weren't there in winter, but everybody still knew how good they were. Johnny Boy would not shut up about how good they were. And then to see them taking down all these teams and winning in 7. They get to the finals, and it feels like this team, this is their moment. There were people like T-Bates, Wave Punk. It's Falcons' destiny to win this event.
Got the crowd, probably the loudest we've ever heard, screaming at you. You can feel it shaking as you're up there competing for the best in the world.
Everyone in the arena is just gonna shout, cheer, and holler for every goal that we see go in. Who's gonna get it first? Shots saved by O'Callaghan. That man looks to keep the ball alive. Plays the ball back down. Team Falcons.
That was a surprise shot that Falcons were not ready for, but good for them. Wasn't on target. This one might be. It is! And it's in for Joyo. Unreal boost steal there by Khaled. Really starving Moist at the moment. They've all run out. And it's an own ball!
Although Game 1 began with some back and forth action, it ended with an unfortunate own goal, thus giving Falcons the early series lead.
Falcons take game number 1.
But if anyone could bounce back from something like this, it surely would be Moist.
Advance in mechanics within weeks. So to see Team Falcons now with the full roster still shining.
He's got absolutely nothing, but he's trying to stay on the ball.
So these overtimes are the plays that you would go for in scrims. Maybe even for online tournaments. Vatira does this at any level. Drop down pass for Rise. What a save by O'Callaghan. Vatira takes control of the ball.
Here we go.
Falcons might be able to break away instead. The chance from Vatira.
This is
for
it.
Joyo off the back foot. Who's faster?
Moist had begun bulldozing their way through the first series, now just 1 game away from a bracket reset. Since the Falcons had yet to be beaten, they still had an extra life, even if this series didn't go their way. But as you might expect, they weren't ready to give it up that easily.
Here we go. Match number 5. Are we going for a bracket reset? Or can Team Falcons put this together?
Moist were really getting more outplays per minute. And Falcons, can they get one though? Ahmad lands it with...
With their backs to the wall, the Falcons finally responded with a complete blowout win in Game 5.
5-1, Team Falcons.
And in Game 6, Moist nearly clutched up and put an end to the first series. But the Falcons fired back with an unbelievable cross-map pinch.
TRK's pinch! It goes all the way!
Evening out the series and sending us to Game 7. Champions Field was essentially becoming Moist's home stadium at this point, so it's no surprise that they were the ones to set the tone.
Nice to try and back pass instead. Vatira is going to be all over him. And a gnarly flick goes in. It's Moist in 12 seconds.
But the Falcons were no strangers to this field either, and quickly responded with one of the greatest goals of the tournament.
Against Sam Out, who is actually around to help you carry out. He's got past one.
Got the flip. If that's not Champions response, then I don't know what is.
It was immediately clear we had a real match on our hands.
TRK ties it for Falcons. Momentum swings heavily in their favor.
As if Moist still hadn't been through enough drama, what happened to them next put them down into the trenches all over again.
Has on whoever's behind the ball, a big bump, and the save from Moist Esports.
The boost bounce. Almost no one had anything off the backboard.
Did the pressure finally catch up with them? Is this really how it would all come crashing down? All we could do was watch and find out.
Falcons, potentially the goal that gives them the major.
With a mistake like that, it's going to haunt your memory, but you have to move on, move past it. You've got half of the game left.
Can't do any further than that. It's up to Vatira to set up the next launch at offense. Team Falcons not willing to give up any length of the field. Joyo off the wall. Back down, Vatira. Back to right! Oh! Forget about earlier on. He has made up for it.
Moist, bring it back.
Minute and 50. Next goal is huge, and it could decide if this is a
same play.
Oh! Right!
It's the same play down the other end. An even better shot.
Ahmad picks up boost, takes the one on the wall. He's got Rising Vatira to try and beat. Can he do it?
Reset.
Not on this occasion. Just going to make himself as big as possible. They're forced to bring Joyo in. Ahmad against Vatira. Vatira gets him in time. Ball just hits that ball from here. He's going to drop down. Ladies and gentlemen, bracket resets.
They've done it again.
Surprise, surprise, Moist came up clutch when it mattered most again. And we're officially back in that same position that they were in 3 months ago.
After we won that game 7, we went outside. We asked ESL, like the manager, the player manager, if we could go and get fresh air after this first series, which we didn't get in LA. So we walked outside, took some deep breaths, you know, had some fresh air, chilled for like 10 minutes. And we came back and we were just like, I'm not tired. I'm not tired like I was in LA. Like, there's no way we lose this.
Two Titans clashing in peak form.
Let's do it again.
Rise. Farther redirect. Was there any question if Rise was going to hit this?
Yeah, might go the whole way.
Everything about my career, it seems almost planned of how perfect it is. And like, and how many times, if we were anyone else, or if I was anyone else, we probably should have lost, but it's just crazy. It's like it was meant to be.
Not something they practice often within their region. They surge forward with every attack. Moist are putting them in uncomfortable territory.
I've been told a lot by people around me. I mean, I'm a freestyler. You know, it won't work in comp. And then in the grand finals of a major, when we needed to close it out the most, I mean, I freestyled and it worked in a major final.
Against the wall if your team Falcons. Meanwhile, Moist Esports. Of all the work they put in.
They're confident, but why wouldn't you be when you can play like Joyo? That is outrageous.
There is no greater feeling than being the best in your class, and to do it in front of a crowd like this. Joyo off the reset, look how far back. Moist can now play like that, they can afford to... They are dropping Falcons out of the tournament!
Kind of describe like watching his career, you know, from playing at home onto the stage. What's that been like for you?
actually indescribable. I'd watch anything he did, he's just amazing. And now to be able to come to an event like this and see him win it, best day of my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's over.
Listen to them go.
Now, Joyo, we've talked about teammates, we've talked about friends, but we haven't talked.
One of the biggest things though, the only reason my mum ever believed that Rocket League had any future for me was because I took her to season 5 and I convinced her to let me go. Time skip of a few years forward and I'm winning in the exact same place. And the people I watch win are watching me win.
We've talked about teammates, we've talked about friends, but I want to talk about family because you seem to have the most supportive mother in the world. She's right in front of you. What does it mean to share this moment with teammates, friends, and family right in front of you?
I'll never forget it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, my mum's been so supportive, so is my dad, he's at home. It's just unbelievable.